For as long as I can remember, my mother, Joan, has intensely disliked this gospel. You see, she is by anyone's reckoning a doer. And here is Jesus seemingly admonishing Martha for doing in favour of Mary being. My mother, the practical theologian she is, and summarising what may be a shared theological judgment, says, well, it's all good and well for Jesus and for most men for that matter, but if we all sat on our backsides and contemplated, how would the work ever get done? As I've tried to explain to my mother, the story of Martha and Mary is actually quite a complex narrative, and it can be read on so many wonderful levels, but two will suffice for now. The first focuses on Mary, who assumes the position of the rabbi's student and is defended against any attack on her right to be there. She was at the feet, at the knee of the rabbi. In first century Palestine, Jewish women were not permitted to be taught the Torah and only instructed about how they should live their lives in obedience to its demands. They were not permitted to touch the scriptures, nor to take part in public debate about them or any official liturgical ritual. In this context, we can see the freedom Jesus envisaged for women. Mary is in fact his disciple, which goes against the religious patriarchy of his own day. On another level, however, the story focuses on Martha. The writer of Luke's Gospel tells us we're in Martha's home and that with Jesus as her special guest at her table, she is serving the members of her household with care and devotion. Martha comes across as strong and outspoken. Mary, meanwhile, is passive and silent. It's likely that this story is criticising a call in Luke's community for women to move away from the leadership that Jesus gave them and to adopt, again, the more traditional roles to which Jewish Christians were more familiar. One of the things I find reassuring about this gospel is that the church seems to have been wrestling with women's leadership since the very beginning. It's the issue that won't go away, and nor should it. On the 21st of May, in the year 2000, Pope John Paul II told a group of bishops from the United States that, and I quote, "The genius of women must ever be more a vital strength of the church of the next millennium, just as it was in the first communities of Christ's disciples." To this end, today's story, which comes from the earliest of the Christian communities, holds a key to our dilemma. Just as Jesus broke through the gender boundaries of his own day, so too must we. We must renew our commitment to ending anything that degrades, exploits, or dehumanises women throughout the world and in the church. But moreover, it's time for us to take some strong, symbolic and practical steps to promote women's leadership throughout our own Catholic community. I think we should readmit women to the ancient order of deacons, for which they are highly praised in Romans 16 and 1 Timothy 3. Pope Francis commissioned a commission about this, and I think we should move on it. I think we should readmit lay people, and this time lay women, into the College of Cardinals. Most Catholics don't know that for most of its history it had lay men and clerics together. Let's go back to the older tradition. And even though the lay men and women could not be elected the Bishop of Rome, it would mean women would be there discerning who should be our great universal pastor. Women need to continue to assume even more leadership in Catholic education, welfare, healthcare, and pastoral care. Catholic employment tells us that women constitute 75% of all the workers in the church's ministries. Imagine if all the women of the church went on strike for a week. The whole church would freeze. And commensurate with their leadership, women should continue, as Pope Francis has begun and Pope Leo has continued, to have very high-profile positions in every diocese and in Vatican departments, starting with those places that deal with instructions and decisions that directly affect their lives. These avenues would enable women to have even more options in demonstrating and realising the full extent of their genius as St. John Paul II put it. Let's recommit ourselves then this Sunday to using in the best possible way for the mission of the Church the gifts, talents and strengths of over half our Catholic community. As described in today's Gospel, may we learn from Jesus and the earliest Church that nothing should stand in the road of women offering all their gifts and talents in the service of the Lord, so that they can choose the better part, which should never be taken from them.